Hello, hello, welcome. Good afternoon. Take off our masks. We're bubbled together. We are excited to chat. Hello, all about motor development. So I've just put a prompt in the chat there. Please let us know if there's any burning questions you have about gross motor development for your babes. Maybe let us know where they're at, what age they are, anything you're wondering about equipment, toy-wise. We are happy to answer any questions. Hi, everyone. Welcome. I'm Hillary.
I'm Jen.
And we are co-owners of Toronto Kids Physio. So we have a clinic here that we're in today where we see babies all the way up to kids who are 18 and help them with anything to do with their bodies. So for you guys, that's mostly young little ones. Sometimes people come as early as 1 month old, believe it or not, to work on their different things. We do a lot of gross motor assessments, and then we also see babies who might have a tightness of one side of their neck or presenting with a flatness on one side. So we're really excited to answer any questions you might have. We do have a couple slides prepared if we want a little bit more of a formal presentation, but we really just want this to be kind of a Q&A.
Chat about your babies.
Yeah, chat about your babies and some of those hot topics, right? Container baby syndrome,
Tummy time.
So thank you for sharing about your daughter.
So she is 3.5 months old, and what you should be looking for now and in the future. Great question. So 3.5 months old. What we're really looking for at that stage is having your baby start to be a bit more comfortable on their tummy. And start to maybe pushing up on her hands a little bit more, not just sort of being chest down, but really extending through those arms, getting up onto her hands, and maybe some initiation of some rolling, trying to explore her side body a bit more and seeing if she's comfortable going from back to tummy or tummy to back as we get through the next little bit. And depending on where she's at with that, usually after we start to see some introduction of early sitting, anywhere from 4 to 6 months, babies get a little bit more control when they're sort of placed in sitting. And then sitting independently is usually closer to 6 months around that stage. So if you have any more specific questions about how she's doing with her tummy time, or if she's starting to initiate any rolling, let us know and we can guide you maybe a little bit more.
Yeah, I think one kind of big takeaway we want everyone to leave with today is feeling like you know what to do to help your baby reach those gross motor milestones. And a big key secret is put them on the floor. So early on, there's not so much that's exciting other than maybe like a mirror or your face or a song, or usually like the O-ball is a great kind of introductory toy, or one of those rattles that are super light that they can grab onto. But early on, there's really just interacting and allowing them to look around and kind of track you in their space to start to look at different sides of their body. So Jen mentioned a great tip, which a lot of people don't know, is you're going to put them on their back, you're going to do a little bit of tummy time, and you can also do some side lying. So propping them kind of against a pillow or a roll or your leg and kind of playing in that side position is going to show them that there is that side body start to activate through those obliques in preparation for rolling.
Right. Sometimes it's kind of hard to go from fully flat on your back to fully flat on your tummy. So if you go from side to tummy or side to back, we're sort of cutting the work in half, making it a little bit easier to accomplish that. So that they start to explore.
I love this comment about her being very surprised every time. Totally. Yeah. Usually the first roll is from tummy to back, not always, but typically it's really just their weight of their head. They're looking somewhere and then all of a sudden that weight has just carried their momentum over. And then typically the startle reflex will kind of engage where it's like, whoa, I just went really fast and now where am I? So that's totally typical. And then you'll find that with time, that'll become more and more controlled and purposeful. But that's so funny. They're so cute when they're like, oh,
where did I just go?
You can always slow the roll a little bit if you catch it in the moment, just to help them get a little bit more comfortable with that. So hi guys, we are Jen and Hillary, co-owners of Toronto Kids Physio. So we run a private pediatric practice for just kids to learn all about gross motor skills and strengthening. And for babies, we most often help parents figure out where their child might be having some trouble when it comes to their gross motor skills and show you what to do at home to help kind of progress them along. So any questions you have specifically or any hot topics you want us to cover,
we're happy to chat. And if you've got a kiddo who's a little bit older too, or just learned to walk, also keeping in mind that motor development doesn't just stop once we learn how to walk. So there's all the other skills that will come, like learning to run and learning to do stairs, jumping. If you've got 2 kids at home and maybe you've got a little older one who's entering school level, getting comfortable with playground equipment, how to play safely around those big structures, which can be a little bit scary when you see your kid trying to navigate that area. So how to, encourage them to explore their environment, but in a safe way, so that they do get that next level of gross motor development, ball skills, throwing, catching, keeping up with their peers. Sometimes, as we enter the school age, a big thing that we hear about is kiddos who don't necessarily play at recess with other friends because it's not as easy for them to do things like the monkey bars or to climb up on the structures. So we definitely also work with kiddos who are at that age as well. So if you've got a little older kiddo at home, then that's something that we work with as well.
And I think one of the lessons we just wanted to impart on everyone today is we know that it can be super overwhelming and anxiety provoking when you compare to your other children, or you go to a class and you're seeing other babies of the same age, or you go to the doctor's office and they're asking you, oh, are they sitting yet? And there's like this checkbox kind of list, or your app is telling you, oh, they are 6 months, they should be rolling by now. And what we always tell parents is we're really looking for just steady progress over time. So we're not necessarily concerned when we're seeing little kids make progress over time, and we're really paying attention to those mini milestones. So yeah, maybe they're not crawling yet, but look what it looks like on their tummy. They're pivoting in their circles, or they're pushing up onto hands, or they're extending through their arms. So all of these things are little mini milestones that lead somewhere. Exactly. And there is so much that happens in the first year of life, and sometimes gross motor takes a little step up on the pedestal, and sometimes they're learning to eat new foods, and that's okay. So always just telling yourself, hey, my baby is going at it at their own pace. And then by the same token, trusting your mom gut. Like if you feel like, oh, I'm a little bit concerned, or I haven't seen this progress that I'm expecting, or why are they doing this kind of strange thing that's not typical, then bringing that up with their doctor, or booking in with a pediatric physio, or looking it up a little bit online, but just trying not to get overwhelmed by that comparison game.
And I think that that's also what we're here for too. I had a great chat with someone the other day just about how, you go to your doctor for your 2, 4, 6, 9-month appointments. And there's something to be said for maybe having an appointment like that with your physio, who can talk to you at 2, 4, 6, 9 months about how to play with your baby in a purposeful way to encourage development. So that you're not sitting on the floor going, okay, what do we do next? And also to alleviate a lot of those concerns. So, even being preemptive about it, and from an education standpoint, learning sort of, okay, my baby is this much old, what should I be doing? Even if you want to sort of just encourage purposeful play. So that's what we're here for as well. You don't need a doctor's referral to come and see us. If you, think something on your own and you want to come check it out and just chat, that's what we're here for. So I see there's another question here from Lindsay.
Yeah.
The little guy's 5 months. He rolled for the first time at 3 months, and I know he can do it, but he hasn't seemed to do it since. Great question, Lindsay. If you can pop back in there and did he roll back to tummy or tummy to back? I'm curious, because often, and we just mentioned it before, that first roll, the textbook first roll is actually back to tummy, but usually the first roll we see is tummy to back, because they're on their tummy, they're doing tummy time, like Hillary said. They look up, they see something cool, the weight of their head takes them over, and they fall over. So that's the rule, but it's not as intent. There's not much purpose to it. There's more gravity helping them out. So sometimes we'll see that first, and then it's hard to recreate when it's not purposeful. But the first sort of intentional, tummy to back first. Okay, yeah, exactly it. So probably with that look up, lean over, and gravity helped. And now that he's getting more proportional in size, when babies are first born, they're very top heavy with their heads. And as they get bigger, they even out a little bit more. So that tummy to back roll might not be as easy for them to do with gravity, the first sort of purposeful, and then I see it, I want it, I'm gonna go get it roll, is they're on their back, they look up, they see something, and then they bring their body over to get it. And you can help them to do that either by starting them on their side body and then encouraging them just the rest of the way, or even starting them from their back and bringing their legs up to their tummy and then guiding them over. So babies engage their abs to do a lot of their work by using their legs. So it's like they do a lower leg lift, they'll bring their legs up, which you can do for them, and then guide them over. And often we'll encourage parents to do that with a little visual cue. So they're guiding them with something, okay, you see this, let's go up and around, to guide them to follow it and then go over. The roll from tummy to back, I don't know about Hillary, but there's less of a finesse to it. It's more just you come over and then you complete the roll on the other side.
Yeah, and I think that what Lindsay's mentioning brings up another topic, which is usually some skills are learned at some point, and then sometimes they do kind of go away and come back. And typically you'll find that they happen at first more of that accidentally, just like we're talking about, and then they become more functional in nature. And I think that word functional is so important because maybe they're going to figure out how to get up to stand, but then that's not so functional for them. They don't know what to do there. They're not stable there. They keep falling. They don't know how to get down. And so it's about kind of continuing to work on those skills until they find function in those skills, which is typically engaging in their environment, engaging with toys, playing. And that's when you're going to see them really solidify those skills and be able to grow from that foundation. So we have another comment about an 8-month-old who's pulling to stand. She stands on the sides of her feet or tops of toes are curled over. Is that common? Totally. Especially in the very beginning, we find that they're really not aware of where their feet are, right? They haven't had so much time to really put weight on them. So typically you might see on toes, on sides, on insides, all over the foot. What you do want to look out for is that continues to improve. So with standing practice and more balance, more body awareness, they're not falling as often, that you see that the feet are starting to come to more of that neutral base. But we don't really worry about the foot and ankle position as long as they're not completely tripping over their feet nonstop, and that it's continuing to improve until they're closer to that stage of really standing independently or taking those steps. And that's just going to come from that cruising and standing and reaching and rotating and all the different things they can do at various objects.
And I think you'll find too, it's also very common that when a baby does first start to stand, they're going to stand with their feet sort of pointed out at like 45-degree angles. They're not going to stand with their feet straight ahead as we do as adults. They stand with their feet out, and they'll even try and they'll look flat-footed. So babies' feet don't really develop until they get a little bit older. Those arch development doesn't happen until they're really up on their feet and moving around. So they need to be doing that in order to have that development happen. And so that, sort of flat-footedness that you might see with that medial border coming down to kiss the ground is also a product of them wanting to be as wide and as big as possible, to be as stable as they can. So feet are turned out. They're like, how much of my foot can I get down on the ground to be as sturdy? Because if you think of a building, we need a stable base so that the rest up the chain can be secure. So babies are smart. They're going to figure out how to do that intuitively. And so you're going to see all those different foot positions until they figure out how to make the most stable base for their building.
Yeah.
So Lindsay, he sleeps on his side at night. Yes, the consistent rolling will hopefully come soon. So side is great. If he's going into that position on his own, awesome. Let them explore. You might find that he'll end up sleeping on his belly, and as long as he's got good strength to put their arms up, you don't have to worry about sort of running in and changing his position. So the fact that he's on his side is great to see.
I think another topic that we can talk about that applies to everyone is not rushing development. So we know that babies, there's a huge range of normal in terms of when they're going to start doing this, when they're going to start doing that, and letting them be the guide in terms of, oh, this is really interesting to them right now, or they're really loving to spend time up and standing, or they're not, and really helping them guide you as to what they're ready for. So with that function, right, we often talk about like sitting and standing. These are positions that you can be in statically, right? So you can just stay in space and you can stand there, or you can sit in space and you can sit there. But when you're thinking about a baby, they want to explore. They want to reach for things or engage with things or look for you. And so it's really not super functional for them just to be in one place, right? Movement is what defines function for a baby. So when we are talking about getting ready for standing, I always prefer that a baby figure out how to get there on their own. Because if we just place them in standing, and yeah, they get some stability there, but they don't know how to get up or get down from there. And so that takes away kind of the independence and the function of it. So trying not to rush that. So different than a baby loves standing, right? They always want to be up and standing, they're bouncing, you're holding them. That's different than placing a baby kind of at a surface and having them stand there for longer durations of time when they're not necessarily showing signs of readiness for it.
And it's not that you can't do it, you definitely can, but we would almost say, you know, okay, if you're gonna put your baby on your tummy, roll them to get them on their tummy. If you're gonna place them in sitting, instead of just plopping them down and sitting, maybe start them on the back, roll them up to the side, and have them come to sitting, sort of getting out of bed in the morning like you would do. You get up, you roll to the side, you push your way up. Teach them that functional transition. So instead of flopping them and standing, maybe sitting them on your lap, and encourage showing them how you can go, okay, you could pull yourself up to standing like this. So introducing the movement that goes with that transition rather than just being plopped in those places.
This is a great question that kind of goes off of this topic of transitions. So without a sit-to-stand chair or support device, how can I encourage independent sitting? I feel she gets bored on her back and don't want to leave her there, but also not sure about the bumbo chair. So love this.
So much things.
So many things in this one question.
I'll let you go for the 4.5 months.
Okay, awesome. So we'll start by talking about how, even though I know it's kind of confusing, we're talking about, okay, don't put them there or don't put them here. Just like Jen's saying, we need to work on those transitions. But when it comes to sitting, hot topic, some cultures don't believe in bringing their babies up to sitting before they can get there themselves. I would say in today's modern North American culture, that's not typically the case. Usually you're going to sit your baby in your lap or you're going to practice sitting kind of on its own. So when it's appropriate, and by that I mean head control is there, really tall, strong spine, comfort in sitting, you can start practicing baby on your lap, baby right in front of you, giving them a little bit of support and playing and sitting, as long as that's interesting for them and they're doing well in that position. However, we really do want them to be those functional sitters who figure out that sitting is not the be all and end all, but they can go get their toy or they can come up to sit. If they fall over, they can recover, but typically that will come later. So we do prefer, you can kind of jump off here, practicing versus putting them in a piece of equipment.
Yeah, and so I think that when we want to practice that sitting, what we would recommend if we were in clinic here to someone would be, you know, at this 4.5 month stage, so I'll use your baby as a reference. Typically, that's when we see the start of what's called tripod sitting. So that's when they sit with their legs out, and you can't sit in their lower body, but your legs are out, and then they prop their hands down like this, sort of as that tripod, that third leg, to keep themselves stable. Now, the challenge is, at this age, babies are usually quite small, and their arms aren't necessarily long enough to reach the ground. So what we would encourage is to place a toy in front, in between their legs, to sort of bring the ground up towards them and prop their hands on that toy. Now, the other reason why we would encourage that is that if you do place your baby in sitting, you might find that they round their body and they're really hunched over to try and get there. We don't want to do that to the spine at this age. We really want to see more of an upright posture. So by placing a toy there that brings the ground up towards them, they can prop their hands and be a little bit more straight. When they're doing that, though, we would recommend that you're either sitting behind them, or you can use like sort of a nursing pillow that's a C shape to sort of put behind them so that they can help be a bit more stable. And then, as Hillary said, wanting to make sure that we're teaching them those balance reactions, where their body is in space, and that it's not just a static position, is that if they do happen to fall over, we're obviously not going to let them fall, but we're going to guide them to fall. So they're with your lap on the side, okay, or the pillow, they start to lean to the side. Instead of scooping them right back and placing them back up, we're going to encourage them to actually fall into the fall with control from you so they don't, you know, hurt themselves. But we want them to go to the side, learn how to put that arm out to protect themselves, and then make that a transition saying, okay, you were in sitting, you fell to the side, but now you can go and be on your tummy, and making them associate those movements together. So I think, you know, if you're, you know, if she's 4.5 months and you want to, I agree, she might get bored on her back, but you could put her on her tummy too. You could put her on her side. You could try floor sitting with her as well. And just to say, like, bumbo chairs, Yeah, don't always leave her in a bumbo chair. I think we can jump off here and chat a little bit about containers.
Yeah, maybe pop in the chat, guys. What questions do you have about containers? It's such a hot topic, and
we can go on our little soapbox if we want to, but I want to hear what you guys have to say.
And there's so much out there, and I just have to preface the talk with there's no guilt, okay? We don't believe in mom guilt here in this business.
I have 3 kids. They were all in a bumbo. They were all in an exerciser, and 2 out of 3 of them went in a jolly jumper, and I will explain why if you guys want.
Yeah, so there are so many things on the market, and there are lots of ways and places for you to put baby. And I think that's completely appropriate. If you need your hands, or if they're really happy there, or you just need somewhere else to put them for the meantime while you want to drink your coffee hot, go right ahead. We are not anti anything. We're not anti anything. That's a good way of putting it. We just want you to be aware when you're putting all that time together, if it overshadows or takes away from free playtime. So our best suggestion is the best container you can do is make a sort of safe play space in your home where you're like, no matter what my baby gets to, if they all of a sudden start crawling, it's going to be safe for them, even if I'm not watching them. So making that kind of area would be a top priority. And then using your other equipment as you see fit for those times that you need, but trying not to extend that past 10, 15 minutes in any one bout. And then just making sure it's not taking away from that free time where your baby has freedom of movement.
And I think that's a great point too, because the name container is so great. And I actually, to be perfectly honest, did not consider them containers when I was younger and didn't have kids until I put 2 and 2 together when I came into this field. But they are that. So a bumbo, it's totally fine to put your child in a bumbo, but a bumbo is not going to work on sitting. An exerciser is not going to make your kids' legs stronger for standing. A jolly jumper is not going to make them better at jumping when they get bigger. So recognizing that they are containers, they're a place to put something away and safe for a few minutes so you can go do something else.
Did anyone else watch that home edit show?
Containers.
Put your containers in a rainbow order.
Right? So that's what they are. It's a container for your child, so to keep them contained while you're doing something else. And they need to be contained sometimes.
Yes.
It's okay. 100%. So the bumbo is totally fine. Yes, good show. It's totally fine for those few minutes at a time to contain them, but don't let it fool you into saying, oh, they're going to get good at sitting. And
that's totally marketing.
That's marketing. They're really good at it. The exerciser people, Fisher Price, God bless them, they know what they're talking about. Yeah. They've got good marketing strategies. And they might say that on the box. But I think you'll be hard pressed to find a pediatric therapist out there that will tell you that any of these devices contribute to development any more than being on the floor and having a safe play space. And that safe play space, might look like you're borrowing your dog's little cage room to put around on the floor, so that you can have all their safe toys, something that they're okay with mouthing, and if they're happy there. Now, that being said, we know that there are babies who are not happy on their tummies. We know that there are babies who are not happy when they are alone. And I think, a couple of things that we would point out there is just that we're here to give you strategies to help make tummy time easier so that, once you get to that point that you can leave them for a few minutes. And then I think it's also very much important to help instill those properties of independent play. Mm-hmm. So, there are tons of toys that are out there that are wonderful, but that are also very interactive and can be a little bit overstimulating. There's something to be said for being able to, for a few minutes, leave your baby in a safe play space with a toy and not need to facilitate that and have them explore independently.
Yes.
And there will for sure be babies that get upset by this. And we want to, obviously not telling you to neglect and ignore your babies by any means, but we do want to help foster that ability to independently play and explore, to have that independence that carries them through later in life when they want to, go sit in color for a few minutes and go read a book by yourself for a few minutes. That almost starts at this age now by being able to go sit and play with their blocks for 2 minutes as a
And I think with that, it is so hard.
So hard.
We are often here just sitting on our hands and just waiting because their brains take more time. And we think we know what to do with the toy and how we want them to interact with it. And you just got this new toy and you're so excited about the way it opens and closes. And you want them to interact with it in that way. And just trying to go with this, take a few steps back, hands-off approach of okay, I'm just going to place this there and see what they do.
Yeah.
And then be really like excited about how like imaginative your kid is and how they're playing. And as long as it interests them, it doesn't matter whether they do it the way that's on the box. As long as they're entertained by it and intrigued by it and exploring it, then that's really what you want to see them do. And so I want to kind of jump off there and say that I think if there's advice that I give a lot to parents, it's in your play space, have a toy bin that everything goes away and it's got a lid and they can't see it. And then take out one or two things. Hi, Lena. One or two things at a time and let them play with that. So often I find that babies aren't motivated to move on their belly because there is something within reach at all times. And I know that this is like, you know, you just take, oh, this isn't working, bring this up. This isn't working, oh, he's not interested in this. Let's just have everything. But sometimes that leads to, okay, well, I can just get that. And if that's too hard, because it's a little bit too far, I'm just going to reach with my other hand over here. And so that takes away from the motivation to move. And remember, we want that movement, that exploration of, I want to go get it. How am I going to get there?
Exactly. And I think jumping off of what Hillary's saying is, you know, we often hear from parents saying, oh, my baby's just lazy. They don't want to do it. And it's
no baby's lazy.
No baby's lazy. Babies are, I like to say, energy efficient. If you think about how much growing and learning and processing they're doing, even in their sleep overnight, how much their bones and muscles and ligaments are, they're all growing. Like we go to sleep at night, we recover from our days, but we're not growing and processing and learning to the degree that a baby is. If you think about how much growth happens in a year, that's all happening.
And not just gross motor.
Everything.
Like they are learning all the things.
So if they've got a way to either get from point A to point B that's easier for them, they're going to choose that way. If they've got a toy there that's easier to get than that toy over there, they're going to go to that toy because they're conserving their energy so that they can do all the other things they need to do to grow. So it's the same sort of reason why you might see a baby take a few steps. I'm at this point with my daughter now. She's just starting to walk, but her crawl is still way faster than her walk. So despite the fact that she can take 20 steps across the room, she is not going to choose walking as her primary mode of locomotion until that walking becomes faster and easier than her crawl.
Yes, it's all about efficiency. And so we have parents come in and their kid scoots on their bum and they're having trouble maybe getting to that next step of walking, or they've skipped crawling. That's a whole other topic. We can't get there if we have time.
Yeah.
But the point is that that child, we can do it, but it's going to be tricky to teach them another way because it has become so efficient. They can do whatever they want. They can get across the room. They can follow you into another room. They can pick up a toy. They can interact however they want. So why would they choose the harder way that takes more energy, that makes them think harder, that challenges their body more, when they've got a really efficient way? So we're often kind of teaching parents, hey, how can you change your environment? Maybe you're going to bring your toys a little bit higher so that everything's not on ground level, so they can't reach everything from a bum scoot or from crawling. So they want to interact a little bit higher in the world.
I just want to make sure we get to all the questions. So Bronwyn, so glad this is helpful. Thank you so much. Christine, yes. So like we were saying at the beginning, it's so true. You know, we find like 0 to 12 months, everybody talks about, okay, you get your walking, and then it's the what's next.
Yeah.
And so I think for your 17-month-old, if they've probably been walking for maybe a little bit, the next sort of stages that we do encourage looking for is refining that gait pattern. So being able to walk on surfaces that are unstable, make a little mini obstacle course at home so they can practice stepping over things, around things. The next big one that typically comes is stairs too. So practicing, you know, not just crawling up, but maybe stepping up with some assistance, going down on their bellies, and also then starting to introduce walking down with support. And then the next big one that you usually see after that is jumping too, and introducing ball skills. So in terms of how to support them, I would say, you know, just getting out in the community and exploring is the best thing to do. Let them walk on the curb, practice stepping up, stepping down, jumping up and jumping down. Really just sort of taking them to the next level when it comes to navigating their environment and exploring their space.
And typically, if certain kids, yes, others no, but typically they'll guide their own development, right? They might start like discovering that they can kick a ball, or get down and roll the ball, or go up the slide. So just letting them kind of guide, but also giving them those opportunities to explore. And I know it's hard right now, guys, but thankfully parks are still open. So get out there while it's still nice out. For the safe play space, anything that's going to work for your home, usually those puzzle piece mats are fantastic because you can take them down if you don't have a lot of space at home and just kind of put them out. Also, like Jen was saying, those kind of gates.
Yeah,
so
like if you have like a dog crate.
I know that there's dog ones, but there's also like skip hop makes one. But
or if you have an L-shaped couch, to be honest, I did that in my house. I took my L-shaped couch, I took my coffee table out from the middle, I turned it 90 degrees, and then I shoved everything up against the wall.
Yeah.
Like just made a zone where, and then nothing on the floor that they can obviously, that would be too small if they mouthed it. So just making sure you're making conscious choices with your toys that you're like, okay, would I be okay if my baby played with this by themselves if I wasn't able to watch them play with it? So choosing your toys appropriately. And then letting them just have more movement. So also making sure not to crowd the space with lots of things. Like Hillary was saying, put the rest in a bin, only have 1 or 2 things out, not only so that they can just focus on one thing at a time, but also that they have the ability to move, right? Some babies will roll and roll and roll and roll to get something. Right?
Yeah.
You know, to figure out their movement pattern, you know, they just need more space sometimes. So.
And then as they're getting older, making sure you're kind of just looking at your space and being like, is this age appropriate still? Because if you do want them to learn maybe the crawling or coming up to stand, they're going to need something to pull up on. Right. So in the beginning, it's totally appropriate to just have like just the floor. And then as they're getting older, starting to put in other pieces of furniture, really, a couch cushion on the ground, or a coffee table that's sturdy, or one of those play cubes where there's different variety of surfaces for them to explore in different ways and different positions.
And I think with that, making sure, like I love that Hillary said, putting a couch cushion on the floor, because that's a great thing that they can do. They can climb over it, they can step on it, but really if they rolled from on a couch cushion to onto the floor, there might be a yelp, there might be a, oh, that was startling and surprising, but really at the end of the day, they're going to be okay. And I think one of the hardest things that we can, as moms, is to see our children obviously get hurt, and we don't want that, but we also want to make sure that we're teaching them how to fall.
Yes.
And we're teaching them how to protect themselves. And if we're constantly scooping them up and not letting them have that opportunity in a safe way to fall, or they're not going to learn to put their hand out down. They're not going to learn that, okay, I can fall, but I can get back up again and I can do other things afterwards. And it was startling and surprising, but it's okay. So just making sure you're choosing that equipment appropriately that you're putting in there.
And I think we'll just do one more little hot topic because we just love to explain to parents that stability needs to come before mobility. So they need to figure out those balance reactions in sitting. They need to figure out those balance reactions in standing, because let's say they start walking, but they're not stable. They're going to fall every 2 seconds, which is normal, but we need them to be able to figure out how to get back up, right? Or, hey, I'm losing my balance, so I'm going to slowly lower myself to the floor. You'll see babies do this. And then, okay, now I'm going to stand back up. And we really want to make sure that those little foundational movements are there to help them with that independence. So it's not, oh, I've taken a few steps now, but I keep ending up on the ground again, and it's startling and it's scary for me, and then I don't know how to get back up in free space.
Or the babies that will get up there, stand there, and then, how do I get down?
Slowly lower.
Or they don't, or they just cry. They just cry till someone, because they know if they cry for long enough, someone's going to come and take them down. Now, I'm not saying not to do that, but maybe instead of picking them up and putting them down, that you say, okay, we're going to go down now. I'm going to bend one of your knees. We're going to squat down low, and sort of, again, coming back to what we were saying before, teaching them to transition instead of just doing it for them.
Yes.
Totally easier said than done.
Yes.
You know, like spoken as, you know, mom, but it's easier said than done, but it will go a long way for both their sanity and your sanity.
Yeah. And this can start so early. Like for all of you that are saying you have like 3-month-olds and the whole rolling thing, it can start as early as rolling. Like when they're on their tummy and they're a little bit upset, you can say, you're all done. Like you're frustrated, you're tired, let's roll back over. and then roll them over. Like, we're on our back now. Let's take a break, right? So verbalizing that stuff and guiding them through that transition and that movement will help teach them that that's how they rescue themselves in the future. I don't like using rescue, but because if we're just picking them up every time, which is going to happen. It's natural reflex, please. It's okay. Yeah. But if that's happening every time, then they'll never necessarily learn, hey, I can get out of this myself, or hey, I can roll.
Yeah. It really teaches a lot of that self-discovery and a lot of that progressing of their skills to be able to encourage them to do that, to explore the different muscles that are there.
Yeah. I'm just cognizant of time.
Yeah.
It's 1:05 now. Like, we're happy to hang out a little bit longer if there's any specific questions. This is our favorite thing to do. So please.
And if you want to talk more specifically about your kiddo, and this is exactly what we do here. I mean, we obviously see kids 0 to 18 for any sort of physio reasons. But I've got a special place in my heart, and so does Hillary, for all these little developmental talks. So if you want to bring your kiddo in for a motor milestone assessment, that's definitely something that we do, where we would chat with you and say, okay, here's where your baby's at, here's what's coming up, here's how to play with them, here's what to look out for, and obviously tailored to your baby. And we are doing virtual therapy now as well. So if this sort of dynamic works for you, and we're happy to have a peek into your home as well. You can show us your play space and we can help you set it up.
Yeah, I have to say virtual for this kind of kid works awesome, because we can see you in your own home. We can talk you through things, and you can actually practice the handling, which we obviously do here. But when we get the babies in our hands, we're just like, we want to hold them.
Do the thing. We make it look easier than it actually is.
So it's super helpful for you to just to have a peek into your play space and to have you try and practice things on your own. And even just to have a conversation like this, where it's like, well, why are they doing that? Or how can we kind of progress them to the next stage? I find that we really just have the luxury of time, right? Mm-hmm. So your pediatrician probably knows a lot of this, but we can actually answer questions and really watch the baby move, whether that's in your home virtually or here, really engage them through play and observe how they're moving, where they're stuck, or where they're doing really well.
Awesome. Does anybody else have any more questions that you'd love us to touch on? Containers, milestones, safe play, older kiddos?
Happy to.
Yeah. We'll hang on here for a few more minutes. We'll wait for some more questions in the box, but if you guys wanted to jump off to another session, that is totally fine too.
We hope you're having fun. This is awesome.
So cool. Great job, Alana, and the team. We were very curious how this is going to work, but this looks awesome.
Yeah. Anything else?
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much.
This was awesome.
We hope you found it helpful and were able to take away a couple of key things that can help empower you kind of moving forward with your child's play.
Absolutely. So many here. Oh, it's exciting.
What do you want to hear about, guys?
Yeah.
Have a great rest of your afternoon.
Oh, what can I keep to keep my son in one spot when I need to do something? He's 6.5 months and curling and gets to sitting on his own. Okay, so Cassandra, the first thing I would say is that if you do have a space in your house where you can gate him off and give him a little 2x2, 3x3 space of his safe play zone where you can let him crawl, let him get in and out of sitting on his own, great, do that. Even if it's a pack and play, lowered to the bottom, that's it's obviously smaller, but you could put him there with toys that still gives him more freedom of mobility, less so than a container. So I think ideal gold standard would be a little play zone. Then second would be a pack and play with, just the match on the bottom. Hillary's going to share something right now.
I'm just going to share my screen. This is an example.
Now, we're very aware not everybody has a space to do something like this, but this would obviously...
So this is actually my niece, and this is my sister's dining room. And when they had her and they weren't doing a whole lot of hosting at the time, they moved the dining room table and put in this gate system and created her a little, we called it a baby jail. It's not so nice, but a place for her to freely play with all her equipment in there. And I just loved it. And it doesn't exist anymore. They took it down. Now she plays in the basement now that she's older, but it was totally appropriate at the time and worked for them. And you're probably not doing so much hosting in your own home right now. So maybe reevaluating what space that you had for a certain purpose that's not being used right now and trying to use it for a different function.
But at the end of the day, if you do need to use something like an extra saucer for 15 minutes, that's okay too. But this would obviously be the best. And then coming on to Miriam's question, the best thing to do with your newborn is tummy time, as much tummy time as possible. So that's obviously tummy time with a newborn is tricky. So that can even start with chest to chest, or even on your arm in that sort of airplane position, on their belly, on your arm. You can use over your leg, on a breastfeeding pillow, on a yoga ball. But with a newborn, 100% tummy time is the best way to go. Whether it's also for motor development, but also for their head shape. And, newborns are very susceptible to changes in head shape based on preferred positions. And we all know, of course, back to sleep is the safest way for your baby to sleep. They're always going to be spending more time on their back than they will be on their front. So for head shape and also for sensory input to their body, having them be on their front as much as possible during those awake times is going to be the best activity you can do for a newborn and help them to progress and build that foundation for the rest of their motor skills to come.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the earlier you start, the better.
Day one.
But for all you moms on here that maybe didn't start day one, it's okay.
Yeah, it's hard, and they cry sometimes. And we obviously making tummy time easier is something that we love to help parents with, because we want to make you feel empowered and not like you're doing an extra chore. Especially because there's so many things to do in a day. They need to eat, they need to sleep. There's only so much wake window that you have.
Yeah.
They need to digest their food. You're gonna put them on their belly. They're gonna spit it all back up again. So obviously making that process as smooth as possible is what we're here to help with. And so I think if your baby's having trouble with tummy time and you're trying to get in as much as possible, a simple thing that we like to remind everybody is gravity sucks for babies. It's really hard and heavy for them. So anytime you take that and increase that angle against gravity, so whether you're lying chest to chest, or again, you're using that pillow, it's going to help with making tummy time easier, but also allowing you to do it even if they've just eaten, because they're going to be on a bit of an angle too. So helping with that digestion. So that would be our tips for the best thing to do with a newborn.
Absolutely.
Keep it simple.
Keep it simple. Tummy time with a mirror.
Yeah. If you want to be extra bonus points, maybe some sideline play.
Yeah.
That would be bonus next level with a newborn.
Sideline. Yeah. Those black and white photos.
Yeah.
Photos of yourself.
Yeah.
Yourself down,
yeah.
eye to eye. Really, they just want you. So try and be present with them for those moments as well. You are so welcome.
So welcome, guys.
Any last minute? We'll take one more. If you're still there and wondering about something, please pop it in the chat. Otherwise,
go enjoy the rest of this awesome festival.
Yeah.
They did such a great job.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys. Oh, sleep regressions. Interesting. Ugh. Sleep is
not us.
Not our
Go find Amanda Juicin somewhere.
Yeah, but they do sometimes have sleep regressions associated with learning a new milestone, because again, all that processing that's going on, you might find it correlated with like, oh, they're just learned like they're in the sleep regression. Oh, they just crawled today. So we do find those associations, but yeah, Amanda Juicin.
Yeah. Another fun fact about sleep is most parents report to us that they'll try something new in their crib.
Mm-hmm.
So they're rolling all the time in their crib,
but
or they're coming up to sit all the time when you're trying to get them to sleep, but they don't do it for play. I don't know why. There's no scientific thing. I think it's a safe place.
Yeah.
A safe place where they're comfortable, they're calm. And I don't know, it's like they always told you when you were growing up in school that things solidify at night, right? Mm-hmm. Like before sleep and through your sleep. So maybe they were working on it all day in little ways, and then it just kind of came together in their crib.
Sleep is like the oven. One of my physio mentors used to always say that our job is to give the kids the ingredients, and the ingredients is all the play activities we do, and then they go home and they sleep, and that's either the microwave or the slow cooker or the oven, depending on how their brain works, and then they process all those ingredients out into a delicious new skill.
Yeah. We do put a lot of information out there on social media. So follow us at Toronto Kids Physio. Jen uses her children. It's really helpful. If you can't find anything, just kind of scroll back in our history or look at some of our old IGTVs are really helpful. If there's anything that you want to be covered on our social media, please direct message us or comment on a photo. We're always happy to put out more content of what people actually want to see. So that's another place where you can contact us for sure. Awesome.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, guys.